Good day.
Good day. Good day.
Good to see you.
Join my army of the dead.
Good riddance, Blood Raven. am overburdened. I can't use this yet. I am overburdened.
Good day. Welcome out. Akara has been like a mother to me for as long as I can remember. She is wise and good, but I don't think she has the steel to retake our monastery by...
It is clear that we are facing an evil difficult to comprehend, let alone combat. There is only one Haradran sage, schooled in the most arcane history and lore, who could advise us. His name is Deckard Cain. You must go to Tristram and find him, my friend. I pray that he still lives. Yes?
can't use this yet. don't care anymore. I am overburdened. I am overburdened. I am overburdened. I can't carry anymore.
The Order welcomes you.
I need mana.
We are Nutrition Kitchen. Our mission is simple, to put flavor back into healthy eating.
I got this Back to the Roots mushroom growing kit for Christmas, and since I've never tried to grow mushrooms, I thought I would document the whole process and share it with you. Scrape at this white surface, get a little bit down into the substrate, and you just repeat that under each flap. Once you get the entire area under each flap scraped, it's time to soak. In the company's video, they recommend using a large bowl, but I'm using this plastic storage box because it works pretty well. You just put the cut area down and let it soak for at least 6 hours. After it soaks for 6 hours, you just remove it from the water and lightly tap it with a towel to dry it off, then return it to the box. Then you use your small mister bottle to mist it twice a day. After about a week, you should notice some growth. It might be a little bit more, but ours was around a week later and we started to notice some little mushrooms. Even though I was very pleased with these, the kit that my son grew did even better, and here's a look at his. As you can see, it's just covered with little mushrooms. And this is just the start. They grow a lot larger from here. Here's a time lapse of the ones that my son grew, and this time lapse only covers about 2.5 days or so. Even without the aid of a time lapse, it's pretty easy to notice that they've grown from the morning to the evening. They double in size in just a short amount of time. As you can see in this view, we put them in a window that gets light, but not direct light, and then we face them away from the window. Now let's take a look at my first crop. And I say first crop because you can grow multiple crops from these kits, as I'll show you later in the video. Here's a look at my first harvest. And we tried eating these 3 different ways. We ate some fresh in a salad. Then we put some in some chicken and noodles. And then some in some brown gravy with onions over steak. Now let's take a look at my son's harvest, and he also weighed his.
The box got a little front heavy and ended up falling over, so I think I'm going to go ahead and harvest these. Turned out really well. Here from the scale here ended up falling over on me, so I had to kind of 147 grams.
The substrate over and put the original side that you harvested from down and the unused side up. Then you simply repeat all the steps that you went through when you grew the first crop. I'll put my affiliate link down below, so if you want to check out the exact kit that I used, you can. Here's a look at my second crop growing. The first 2 crops I grew in April, then I set the whole kit aside thinking that I would get back to it, but I got busy with the rest of the garden outside and kind of forgot about it. In June, I discovered that this kit had grown a 3rd crop without my help, and by the time I discovered it, it had dried up. If you're a mushroom grower, let us know down in the comments, and if you're just now finding this channel, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Designed to move you forward.
Hey Noah, you might be able to run a little longer in these.
Yeah, after you.
No! Who's gonna take it forward?
Warm up, done.
Hey Pat, take it forward!
I'll take it forward.
I'm unstoppable! What?
The warmth of your gaze. Raise your glass to mine, and as we drink, we would lock eyes, so we could disregard the thought of summer. It's for falling in love. Da -dun 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 -dun. Summer is for falling in love.
A day and a half ago, this thing was the size of the tip of my pinky. There's been stories of toxic waste cleanup by mushrooms. Without mushrooms, we would be overrun with waste. There would not be any life on Earth. Ganoderma lucidum sintistricto. It's known as the mushroom of immortality. They're antiviral, antibacterial. It's been shown to shrink and terminate tumor growth. Yeah, we do about 180 bags per cycle, and we do that 3 times a week. Yeah, this used to be done in my house. Yeah, we have some shiitake mushrooms right here that are ready to go.
There's thousands of ways that these guys can save our world and make our environment that much better to live in.
Cultivating fungi and mushrooms is like a balance between science and art. Gonna be taking a look inside of my, this is the spawn incubation / culture media room. And I'm just gonna select out some cultures for today and take a look at some of my spawn. Today, I will be taking little pieces of tissue from these plates and dropping them into nutrient media broths to basically expand the mycelium. Yeah, my name is Michael Crow and I own Southwest Mushrooms. Here we cultivate a wide variety of gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. Yeah, we just dropped a couple chunks of mycelium tissue of cordyceps. Mycology is the study of fungi and basically the growth of different fungi. People don't realize that there is such a wide array of different mushrooms out there. Molds and fungi starts from spores rather than seed. 2 compatible spores will mate and form mycelium. The mycelium starts out, we plant it on a petri dish, and from there we transfer healthy sectors of mycelium into bags of sterilized grain. Here we have organic wheat berries that we use. From there, mycelium will spread and devour whatever food source that it's working with. Full colonization occurs. You'll see a big, nice, healthy bag of white mycelium. This can get broken up and utilized to inoculate anywhere from 20 to 30 of our production blocks. Without good spawn, you don't have mushrooms. A lot of people that will try to get into growing mushrooms because they've grown like a lot of plants before think that, you know, it'll be basically like kind of similar, but it's definitely totally different. You're germinating spores on petri dishes, you're growing out the mycelium, you're doing transfers into like sterilized grain substrates as opposed to soils. Yeah, this is our production area. This is where our substrate gets made. We use a blend of oak hardwood sawdust plus added supplements like organic wheat bran and certain seed hulls to basically formulate our substrate to get the maximum efficiency from our mushrooms. Bags are filled up to approximately 10 to 12 pounds, and then from there we make our way into the sterilization area where the substrate will be sterilized for a prolonged period of time to make sure we kill off any microorganisms or competitor molds or fungi. Nothing's needed, it's all sterile, so you don't need to use any kind of like pesticides or any kind of fertilizers or additives. You have to really take a lot of care into making sure that you're only growing the fungi that you desire. This is the sterilization room. This is where we sterilize all of our substrate. In here we can sterilize up to 1,600 pounds of fresh substrate at a time, and basically steam comes through and sterilizes at a high temperature, about 212 degrees. If it's not sterilized properly, you'll take it in to inoculate and you'll run into a lot of contamination problems and molds outgrowing your mycelium. We have our spawn right here. This is a California reishi. So we'll take our spawn and just kind of break it up, separate each individual grain, and allow that to become a vehicle for our mycelium. So take a scalpel and then I'll heat sterilize it. The HEPA filter right here is basically providing us just a clean workspace to perform our inoculations. So we're getting a stream of sterile air. It's eyeballed. I'm pretty good at eyeballing it, so that's what I do. So yeah, the bag's placed in front of the flow hood, inflated with a little bit of that sterile air, and then sealed. All right, so now our bag's inoculated, and then we're just gonna wanna shake it up. All right, that bag's done. People think that all mushrooms are grown in the dark, on manure. We have wood-loving mushrooms, mushrooms that can grow on insects, and mycorrhizal species of mushrooms that can connect with like different plants. This area is our shiitake incubation area. The shiitake generally takes 8 weeks before we can get it into the fruiting room. We can see the mushrooms at this stage beginning to like popcorn. As the mushroom begins to mature, you let the blocks ripen and they begin to turn brown. And this is a block that's ready to go into our fruiting room. It's ripe and ready. Yeah, generally a lot of new growers will mistake the brown for contamination, but that's actually just the mycelium ripening and getting ready to produce a good crop of mushrooms. And yeah, over here we have some freshly inoculated blocks. We can see the mycelium starting to jump off from the grain that it was inoculated with and looking for sawdust to basically break down and utilize as a food source. In nature, you'd find oyster mushrooms growing off of the sides of trees. So here we kind of try to simulate that way of growth with this block. Inside is oak hardwood sawdust, and the bag kind of acts as an artificial bark, tree bark. So when we give it an incision, it kind of just acts as in nature when the mycelium starts poking out at the right points and receiving the right O2 levels that sends mushrooms out. Once it completely devours all of its food source, the mycelium signals to produce mushrooms. Basically, the mushrooms will start pinning within a few days. You'll start to see a bunch of little baby mushrooms forming all over the block. Usually they'll have like a stem and a cap. Underneath the cap will be the gills, and the gills are responsible for like producing all the spores that the mushroom will utilize to continue the life cycle. We grow mushrooms that in nature you'd find them growing right in the forest, right off of the sides of different trees. So we try to give these mushrooms a little bit of light stimulation, kind of just similar to what you'd get in like a shaded part of the forest. What we do is as our blocks are ready to go in the grow room, we slap our blocks with our hands to basically stimulate the tree falling in nature to shock the mycelium into growing. Once the tree or branch would hit the floor, the mycelium would be shocked into producing the mushrooms because it's basically thinking that its life cycle is coming to an end. That's what mushrooms do. They're basically nature's like grand decomposers. Their job is to break things down and turn it into organic material that can be reused by the environment. There's been stories of toxic waste cleanup by mushrooms, mushrooms being able to break down oils, kind of like the immune system for the planet. Also plastics in the environment. Without mushrooms, we would be overrun with waste. Basically, there would not be any life on Earth. Mushrooms are very crucial to the environment and ecosystem. I started when I was about 15. I just got interested in mushrooms, picked up a couple books, and was just really fascinated by the whole process, how something can just start from spores, something that we really can't see with the naked eye, into just being able to devour things at such a fast rate and produce these mushrooms. And by the time I was 16, I was growing mushrooms as a hobby and just became really hooked on the process. So I started this business after selling some stocks and cashing out my 401k. So I wanted to continue working with mushrooms as for life, I guess, and kind of make it a career path. So and I'll just harvest the mushrooms just by simply cutting as close to the base of the block as possible. And then from there we can go ahead and pack everything in the next warehouse and get everything to the desired weights. Creminis and button mushrooms and portobellos, those are secondary decomposing mushrooms. So those mushrooms desire like manure or compost-based substrates. You wouldn't want to keep that stuff under the same roof just because you don't want any kind of cross-contamination getting into your grows. So yeah, we're just specializing in wood-loving species, so species that basically decompose hardwood in nature. You'll find them growing off like fresh trees or basically recently fallen trees. And those strains are like shiitake, oyster mushrooms, more of the medicinal species such as reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane. You'll find maitake growing on oak or in certain hardwoods. Also, the medicinal benefits that they offer are far greater than what you'd find in like a portobello or cremini mushroom. These are the mushrooms that contain those anti-cancer, anti-tumor benefits, those immunomodulating, immune system enhancing benefits. They're antiviral, antibacterial. Like reishi specifically is used in like chemotherapy and cancer treatments. It's been shown to shrink and terminate tumor growth. A lot of people that have compromised immune systems are able to utilize Certain mushrooms like shiitake, for instance, has been shown to dramatically increase like production of necessary T helper cells to help fight off infection and keep your body safe. This is called Ganoderma sicile. This is a reishi species from Palmer Woods near Michigan. And this mushroom is mainly used for the medicinal benefits. We can take it and brew it into a tea or make tinctures out of it and utilize it for the health properties. A lot of mushrooms have their own unique like health benefits that you can only get from that mushroom. It's been used by Eastern medicine for about 4,000 years. Shiitake, for instance, produces a polysaccharide called lentinin. That's something that you can only get from shiitake. Oyster mushrooms produce a compound called lovastatin, which naturally reduces blood pressure. Lion's mane produces haricinones and erinacines, which is able to stimulate nerve growth factor in the brain. Well, here's our lion's mane, also called Hericium erinaceus. It is a wonderful teeth fungi. The mushroom is a medicinal mushroom as well as a culinary delight. It's known for the fact that it can enhance cognitive function, boost your memory, basically enabling people to recover from traumatic brain injuries, helping people deal with Alzheimer's, dementia. We got some regulars out there that love our lion's mane powder and all of our products, really. It just started with like the farmers markets and everybody just being really amazed by our quality of mushrooms. And from there, like chefs started asking us about mushrooms, so we started dealing with chefs. And then now our mushrooms are making it to grocery stores and restaurants all over the state. The reishi is definitely an intensive harvest. So we'll just cut each antler off at the base of the block. It's kind of like a forest of reishi down there. But patience and time. And then there we have the cut right there. And we have a little bit of sawdust attached, so I'll just trim this off. It shows that it really breaks down the substrate into almost a pulp-like matter, ready to begin composting into soil. Yeah, this is the most aggressive reishi that we have. Cultivating fungi and mushrooms is like a balance between science and art. One, you got to understand the science of it, and two, the art of it is basically being able to execute your crop the right way. If you have a passion and you want to turn it into a business, then don't let anything stop you.